1.4 terabytes, 50 signatures, 2 trillion parameters. 3 numbers, 1 story. This was the week the AI industry stopped arguing about safety and started arguing about distribution. I'm Aild. This is the Sunday Wire, the week in AI with the receipts. Today, why open became a business weapon, who's holding it, and what that means if you build things. On Thursday, Jensen Huang did something he had never done. He posted on X. Not a product launch, a letter. Open weights and American AI leadership. 11 million views. The ask: don't restrict downloadable AI models. The context: Washington is weighing whether to ban Chinese open weight models and possibly sanction the labs behind them, after accusations that Kimi K3 was distilled from American frontier models. Accusations, by the way, that independent experts doubt. At launch, 25 companies signed. 24 hours later, 50. OpenAI, Google, AMD, Cisco, Cloudflare, and GitHub joined Microsoft, Meta, Mistral, and Hugging Face. Now do what I always do. Sort the signers by what they sell. Chip makers. They win when models run everywhere. Clouds and infrastructure. Same. Labs with open-weight product lines. Obviously. The letter reads less like philosophy and more like a supply chain defending itself. And the 2 names missing? Anthropic, the lab that sells closed frontier access, and Amazon, its biggest investor? I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm saying nobody in this fight is neutral, including the people who wrote the letter. If this feels familiar, it should. Every platform era has an open versus closed war: operating systems, browsers, mobile. And it always ends the same way. Openness wins the infrastructure layer and the profit moves up the stack. The people funding this letter know that history better than anyone. They're not fighting for your freedom to tinker. They're fighting about which layer gets commoditized. To be fair, the letter side has a real argument, and it's worth quoting. In the industry's words, open models broaden defensive capability, increase transparencies, more eyes, more audits, fewer single points of failure. That's true. It's also exactly what you'd say if your business depended on open models staying legal. Both things can be true at once. That's what makes this fight interesting. Which brings us to the thing the letter is really about. Tomorrow, Moonshot AI publishes the full weights of Kimi K3, the largest open weight model ever released. The numbers: 2.8 trillion total parameters, mixture of experts, about 50 billion active per token. A 1 million token context window. Top 3 on independent capability indexes. The UK and US safety institutes even graded its cyber behavior: 0 of 41 arbitrary code executions against 20 of 41 for leading American models. But here's the number that actually matters: 1.4 terabytes. That's the download in 4-bit precision. 16-bit would be 5.6. A full server node with 8 192GB accelerators barely fits the weights, with almost nothing left for serving requests. So who runs it? Inference providers. The big clouds. A handful of enterprises. Not you, not me, not a university lab. As one analysis put it, open weights in this size class do not push capability out to the edge. There's a sharper version of this argument. Dean Ball at OpenAI calls open weight models inherently decelerationist. They compress the margins that fund the next training run. Nathan Lambert's counter: the gap between closed frontier and open models has already shrunk, from 6 to 9 months down to 3 to 5, and Beijing has made open source an explicit national strategy. And notice what the distillation accusation actually does. If distillation is theft, every open release becomes a legal risk. If it's, quoting the industry letter again, a widely used technique for model improvement, evaluation, and validation, then Chinese open models are just competition. The definition is the policy. Watch which definition wins. Put those together and you get the real picture. China is using openness as market entry. America's infrastructure players are using it as moat defense. And in both cases, the winner is whoever owns the GPUs. Freeze is a business model. It's just not your business model. Now the third front, price. This week, Anthropic shipped Claude Opus 5 at $5 in, $25 out, half the old frontier price with an effort dial that trades capability against cost. DeepSeek killed its legacy. A PI the same week, V4 only, with V4 Flash at 14 cents per million input tokens. And Musk put dates on the board: Grok 4.6, 2 trillion parameters in 2 weeks, 4.7 2 weeks after that. A release cadence nobody else is matching. So frontier intelligence is repricing like a commodity, while the bill for building it keeps growing. Nikki counted $1.65 trillion of AI-related off-balance sheet debt across 5 US giants, up 8 times in 4 years. Our own tracker has 17.2 gigawatts of pledged AI data center capacity, and that's just the pledges we verified. And where does the capital clock stand? This month alone, OpenAI's Project Camellia, 3.2 gigawatts and over $20 billion in Georgia. NVIDIA and SK's 2 gigawatt data center in Korea, AMD's 12 gigawatts of pledged capacity for OpenAI and Meta. These are 5-year bets financed against margins that just got cut in half. So who absorbs falling token prices? The clouds can, for them, inference is a bundling product, sold next to storage and databases. Pure play labs can't unless they keep raising, which explains the fundraising pace. Everyone is racing to lock in capital before the margin math becomes everyone's problem. Margins squeezed at the top, fixed costs exploding underneath. Something has to give. Either usage grows into those data centers, or someone's balance sheet does the giving. Meanwhile, defense AI is the one place where pricing power is going up, not down, and Dural went from $30.5 billion to $61 to talks at $100 billion in 13 months. So what actually happened this week? The industry picked its battlefield and its distribution. The letter is about who may ship models. The drop is about who can serve them. The price war is about who can afford to keep making them. Here's the frame I keep. This industry now runs on 3 clocks. The product clock ticks in weeks, that's Grok's cadence. The capital clock ticks in years, gigawatts in debt. The policy clock ticks in months, letters and hearings. This week, all 3 were visible at once. And when clocks that different are wired to the same money, you get exactly what we saw: big, fast, contradictory moves. For builders, 3 practical takeaways. 1. Plan for model prices to keep falling. Architect so you can swap models in a day. Loyalty to a provider is now a cost center. 2. Don't confuse open with independent. If your open model only runs on 3 clouds, you've traded one dependency for another. Weigh the license, not the vibe, and remember, K3's license only lands with the weights themselves. 3. Watch the policy fight like it's a product roadmap. If Washington restricts open weights broadly, the hobbyist tier dies first, and the clouds win again. Your right to download a model is now a line item in someone's lobbying budget. What I'm watching next week, the K3 license terms, the Grok 4.6 release, and whether the letter crosses 100 signatures before the US-China talks in September. That was the week. I'm Aild, optimistic about the technology, allergic to the press releases. Links and receipts in the description. See you on the wire.